Picture yourself in a museum. Are you silently staring at a painting? Are you respectfully observing a mummy? Are you listening to a quiet audio guide explaining an object that you still don't get, no matter what they say? Well, whatever's in your head, traditional museum exhibits are spaces of reverence, leaving room to think, to observe, to reflect. This exhibit isn't that. You're looking at pro skaters taking full advantage of a 3.5-foot ramp inside of a museum in London. This mini ramp is just one part of a new exhibition called Skateboard, and visitors are free and encouraged to make full use of this plywood structure. So instead of being shushed out so the patrons can pretend they really appreciate the stuff they see on the wall, you can go ahead and backside, ollie, and tic-tac to your heart's content. I had to Google those tricks, by the way. I'm not a skater, I'm more of a kick around a turtle shell kind of guy. Anyway, this exhibit is being hosted by London's Design Museum, which says it's devoted to contemporary design in every form. And its exhibits have taken on all shapes and sizes over the years. From the interactive, like anti-furniture sculptures, to Ai Weiwei's 15-meter-long reconstruction of a Claude Monet painting made out of 650,000 Legos. Really puts my little Frankenstein head here to shame. Skateboard, as you might have surmised by now, is the UK's first major exhibit dedicated to the design and evolution of the skateboard.
The skateboard itself is an object of design that has undergone, layer by layer, decade by decade, a beautiful evolution that's intertwined with performance.
That's the curator of this exhibit, who notes that skateboards and the skate culture that developed around the things incorporates all sorts of elements of design.
So the changes are for performative value, and they're always kind of done by skater designer, skater engineer, skater entrepreneur. So it's sort of designed from the inside.
At the skateboard exhibit, more than 100 boards are on display, including the very first ones from the 1950s. Half of the boards in the exhibit are on loan from California's Skateboarding Hall of Fame Museum, while others come from private collections. This one here is Tony Hawk's very first professional model skateboard deck from 1982. There are also about 150 other objects on display that are believed to have pushed the development of the sport forward. The curator says it was hard to get all these things into a single room.
Slowly you have to go gaining the trust of a lot of these people who, rightly are cagey about skateboarding, because skateboarding tends to get used by people from the outside and sometimes inadequately compensated. So it was really important to craft a culture for this project of kind of patronage, but also engagement and dialogue, right? So that we could have these things here for the general public to see. And yeah, that was a tremendous challenge. I feel really, maybe that's what I feel was the greatest accomplishment of the exhibition.
So skateboarding originated in the 50s out in California. As noted by the Smithsonian, the first skateboards were just roller skate wheels attached to wooden boards. And they were used by surfers when there weren't any waves and they didn't have anything better to do. Because yeah, this place is so boring. Anyway, skateboarding really blew up in popularity in the 70s and 80s, when street skaters started expanding the sport by doing all sorts of tricks, flips, and general custodial work.
So just in the 27 years I've been doing it, I've seen so much change.
That's Alexis Sablone, a member of the Cons skateboarding team. That's the team run by the makers of Converse shoes, and they're the sponsor of this exhibit. Anyway, like she was saying,
I grew up skating in the mid-90s on the East Coast, and there were no other people in my town that skated. I was very much like alone, trying to find other skaters or figure out what it was I was doing and how to do it. Now it seems like everyone has a skateboard. It's on TV. I participated in the Olympics in Tokyo a couple years ago. That's just not something that I could have never imagined.
Skateboarding actually made its Olympic debut at the 2020 Games, and is poised to return again to the 2024 Olympics in Paris this summer. But as Alexis implies here, it's not all about the gold medals or whatever goes down at the Olympic Village. Skating is a lifestyle.
It's not about competition, it's not about only doing like the most impressive moves, it's about style and expression, and there's really like an art to it, and that's why the culture is rich. That's why it's about the graphics, the images, the clothes people were wearing, like just the types of spots people wanted chose to skate.
It's taken years for skaters to be accepted in the mainstream. Even just 20 years ago, skateboarders had to contend with critics who worried that skaters were destroying public property or getting injured too much, ignoring the fact that baseballs break windows and people have been going over the falls in a barrel for years. The exhibit's curator notes that kids picking up the sport for the first time will still have to deal with a lot of the same criticisms and challenges that have been around since skating came about. But in the long run, it's all worth it.
My advice to an 8 or 10-year-old picking up a skateboard for the first time would be stick with it. Don't stop. You'll get hurt. You'll get into trouble. You'll learn a lot. All of this builds character. You'll become an individual. You'll be part of an incredible community. As a bonus, you'll get an education in architecture, aesthetic culture, graphic culture, and you'll learn to push your own limits.